I didn't burn out from work, I burned out from clutter. Japanese minimalism. Ever feel exhausted, even on your days off? Like you're running on empty no matter how much you rest? What if we told you the real problem isn't your job, but something hiding in plain sight, right there in your home? The burnout we don't talk about. We've all heard about work burnout, the endless meetings, the tight deadlines, the pressure that never seems to let up. But here's something we rarely discuss, something that's been quietly draining us without us even realizing it. We're burning out from our own stuff. Think about the last time you walked into your bedroom after a long day. Did you feel a sense of calm wash over you? Or did your eyes immediately land on that pile of clothes you've been meaning to sort through? That stack of books you swear you'll read someday? The random gadgets collecting dust on your desk? Each of these things, as small as they seem, is actually pulling at our mental energy. Research from Princeton University found that clutter competes for our attention, and when our physical environment is messy, it becomes genuinely harder for our brains to focus. We're not just being dramatic here, our surroundings are literally making us tired. The truth is, we're exhausted from managing, organizing, cleaning, and thinking about all the things we own. Every object in our space requires a tiny bit of our mental bandwidth. When we multiply that by hundreds or thousands of items, we're left feeling drained before we've even started our actual work for the day. Why traditional organization doesn't work. So, what do most of us do when we feel overwhelmed by our stuff? We go out and buy storage bins. We watch organizing videos and try to create those picture-perfect closets with matching hangers and color-coded systems. We spend our weekends rearranging everything, convinced that this time will be different. And for a while, it feels good. Everything has its place. We can actually see our countertops again. But then something happens. Slowly but surely, the clutter creeps back in. That drawer we organized so carefully becomes a catch-all for random things again. The storage bins we bought start overflowing. Before we know it, we're back where we started. Except now we're also frustrated with ourselves for not being able to maintain the system. Here's the thing though, it's not our fault. Traditional organization is essentially just playing Tetris with our belongings. We're trying to find clever ways to store more and more things in the same amount of space. But we're never actually addressing the real issue, which is that we simply have too much stuff. According to a study from UCLA's Center on Everyday Lives and Families, the average American home contains around 300,000 items. That's not a typo. 300,000 things that we're somehow expected to keep track of, maintain, and organize. No wonder we feel burnt out. We're not failing at organization, we're trying to manage an impossible situation. Enter Japanese minimalism. This is where Japanese minimalism completely changed the game for so many people around the world. Unlike Western organizing methods that focus on storage solutions, Japanese minimalism asks us a different question. Instead of, where should I put this? It asks, why do I have this in the first place? Japanese culture has long embraced the concept of living with less. This isn't about deprivation or living in an empty white box. It's about being intentional with what we allow into our lives and our homes. The philosophy recognizes something profound that we often miss in our consumption-driven culture. Every item we own actually owns a little piece of us in return. It demands our time, our attention, our energy. There's a beautiful Japanese term called ma, which refers to negative space, the emptiness between things. In Japanese aesthetics, this emptiness isn't seen as something to be filled. It's valued as an essential element that allows other things to breathe and be appreciated. When we apply this concept to our homes, we start to see empty space not as wasted potential, but as something that serves a real purpose. It gives us mental clarity and physical freedom. Let's talk about something we rarely consider. Every single item in our home carries what we might call an energy cost. This isn't some mystical concept, it's actually pretty practical when we break it down. Take a shirt hanging in our closet that we never wear. Maybe it doesn't fit quite right, or the color isn't as flattering as we thought it would be when we bought it. Every time we open that closet, our brain processes that shirt. We have a split-second decision point where we consider it and reject it. That happens day after day, week after week. It seems tiny, but those micro decisions add up to serious mental fatigue. Neuroscientists call this decision fatigue, and it's a real phenomenon. We only have so much decision-making energy in a day, and we're using it up on things that don't even matter to us. When we finally sit down to do something that actually requires our focus, whether that's work or spending quality time with family or pursuing a hobby, we're already running on fumes. A study published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that women who described their homes as cluttered or full of unfinished projects had higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol throughout the day. Their cortisol levels didn't drop the way they should in the evening, meaning they couldn't fully relax even in their own homes. The clutter was literally keeping their stress response activated. Starting small with Japanese principles. The beautiful thing about Japanese minimalism is that we don't need to throw everything away tomorrow or live like monks to benefit from it. The approach is actually quite gentle and thoughtful, which is probably why it works so much better than extreme decluttering methods that leave us feeling overwhelmed. One of the core principles is simply learning to pause before we bring something new into our space. In Japan, there's a mindfulness around purchasing that we rarely practice in Western culture. Before buying something, we might ask ourselves a few simple questions. Do we genuinely need this, or are we just bored? Will we still value this item 6 months from now? Do we already own something that serves the same purpose? These aren't meant to make us feel guilty about our choices. They're just little speed bumps that help us become more aware of our patterns. Many of us shop on autopilot, buying things because they're on sale, or because we had a stressful day, or because everyone else seems to have one. When we start bringing consciousness to these decisions, something shifts. We begin to see that we actually don't want most of the things we thought we wanted. Another principle is the idea of owning one good thing instead of 5 mediocre things. Japanese culture values quality and craftsmanship. Instead of having a drawer full of cheap kitchen tools that break or don't work well, we might invest in one really good knife that we take care of and that serves us well for years. This isn't about being fancy or expensive. It's about choosing things that actually add value to our daily lives rather than just taking up space. The freedom that comes after. Here's what nobody tells us about letting go of our excess stuff. The space we create isn't just physical. Yes, our homes become easier to clean and maintain. We can actually find things when we need them. Getting ready in the morning becomes simpler because we're not digging through piles of clothes we don't wear to find the few pieces we actually love. But the real transformation happens in our minds. We start to feel lighter. There's less visual noise competing for our attention when we're trying to relax. We can think more clearly because our environment isn't constantly demanding something from us. That chronic low-level stress that we got so used to that we didn't even notice it anymore, it starts to fade. People who embrace minimalism often talk about having more mental energy for the things that actually matter to them. They find themselves with more time because they're not constantly managing and reorganizing their belongings. They make decisions more easily because they've practiced saying no to things that don't serve them. They feel more present in their own lives instead of feeling like they're constantly behind on some never-ending to-do list of household management. Our homes should restore us. At the end of the day, Japanese minimalism reminds us of something we've forgotten in our culture of more, bigger, better. Our homes should be places that restore our energy, not drain it. They should be sanctuaries where we can breathe and be ourselves, not storage units for things we don't use and don't love. We're not burned out because we're weak or because we can't handle modern life. We're burnt out because we're trying to juggle too many things, both literally and figuratively. When we start to let go of the excess, we're not losing anything important. we're actually gaining something precious back. We're reclaiming our time, our energy, and our peace of mind. The next time we feel that familiar exhaustion that no amount of rest seems to fix, maybe the answer isn't another vacation or a better organizing system. Maybe it's time to look around our space and ask ourselves honestly, what here is serving us, and what are we serving? That shift in perspective, that simple question, might just be the beginning of finally feeling like we can breathe again.